Hey guys, welcome to our first episode of Flick Fans. I'm Eric.
I'm Skinny Pickle.
Damn it, James. Now everyone's gonna know
Also known as James. Alright, so
Anyway, this is our first episode. This is a show where we talk about movies.
and all things movie related.
Yeah.
So what kind of shit are you into, Eric?
Well, if you guys have seen the videos here on the channel, you might know comedy is a big part of what I like. I do love comedies. And for the most part, most movies, dramas. A little. I've been getting more into horror. That did it come out in last year? Did that come out last year or 2 years ago?
I feel like it came out last year. Yeah, it was either last year or 17.
That was a fun movie for me in theaters because I don't really see horror movies in theaters. That was like the first one I really went to in theaters, and it was a big communal thing, where everybody got scared, then we kind of laughed at each other, then the next big thing scared us. And it was also a very well done movie too.
Right.
So I was really interested in it. But what about you, James?
I mean, as far as horror movies go specifically for me, I'm kind of the same way where I like it more of like an experience or more like a group thing rather than like I'd feel kind of weird sitting and just watching scary movies by myself. I've done it before with a couple of the classics and everything, but I mean, yeah, mostly comedy. I mean, I'm still a sucker for corny action movies. I like pointing out how bad they are as I'm watching them.
You would
and
love
loving
Pain and
every
Gain.
second of it.
You would love Pain and Gain. That's a very cheesy movie, but
I bet I would.
ooh,
That cast lineup sounds great.
yeah. I think it's literally the biggest that Mark Wahlberg and The Rock have like been in movies, and they're just juiced out. They're beefed out.
Like physically biggest.
Oh yeah. They're just huge. They're just huge. You mentioned the classics. Have you seen a lot of older movies like that are deemed the classics?
Absolute favorite series growing up was the Rocky series.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I love Star Wars, all that stuff, Rocky actually it got me working out.
Oh, okay.
Movies don't normally inspire me to just start doing crap. I'll talk about them a lot, but yeah, that one was crazy. I mean, I watched those movies over and over and over again. I had the disc set. I watched them, first to the last one 50 times at least.
Have you seen the Creed movies?
No, I haven't actually. The last one I saw was like the last Rocky movie that came out where he's like old and he's going back in the ring one last time.
Again.
Yeah.
That's my favorite though. I think I've only seen 1 through 3, but my favorite is like the synopsis for all of them is like Rocky is brought out of retirement for one last fight, and it's like for the 4th time. I saw the first Creed, and that was pretty cool, but I heard that Creed 2 was really good too.
Oh my god, yeah. No, they looked really good. I don't know why I didn't go and see them, but never got around to it.
That's fair. Yeah, the Rockies came a little later for me, but those classics like the Frankenstein and the old Universal monster movies. I've never seen them. A friend of mine is really into the old Hollywood movies. Have you seen any of those kind of movies, like the black and white?
Black and white. I've seen clips mostly of the black and white movies. I've seen some old shows like that, like Leave It to Beaver.
Oh yeah. Twilight Zone.
Yeah. I like just pointing out the weird differences in the times back then, like the different jokes that are either were okay back then and aren't now, and everything like that. Things that were so lighthearted humor that are now like super offensive and all that.
Yeah, I as a kid though, I really hated black and white old movies because the acting was really weird, and for whatever reason, and I understand why it was like that, but as a kid I'm just like, why are they acting so weird. And then Black and
Right.
White 2, as a kid, I was like, everything is in color. Why can't we just see things in color? So
Right.
I was like very turned off by that as a kid. But having seen uh more older films from going to school and stuff, definitely some of them uh are atrocious and others are actually pretty good.
Right.
I hated this one. It was a maybe it was a silent film. Also, I hate silent films because the scoring gets really annoying. Where something's happening and the music starts to build, then it kind of hits its climax and fades out, but the scene
Yeah.
keeps going, so the music has to build up again, even though nothing suspenseful or anything has happened. So someone's just walking down the street and it's like and it's like he's just walking. So it's like this is stupid.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the silent films.
No, I haven't seen too many of them, but there's probably a reason.
I mean, I really want to do a interesting silent film at one point, like a short, but to have
That'd
like
be
a
a cool
long one,
project.
yeah. I've thought about a couple ideas where it's like, oh, this could be interesting as a silent film, just because growing up in high school watching a lot of Kevin Smith movies, I became very big. I grew an affinity for dialogue and stuff, and with comedy, that is most of it, unless you do like physical humor. Um, so I thought it'd be a fun challenge, but I just haven't thought of an interesting enough idea to do silent.
Yeah, what would you do?
Uh, I remember my freshman year, we had to make a silent film, and I really didn't know what to do. So I just filmed a friend of mine walking along. He sees a leaf. He tries to take a picture of it, but the wind blows it away, and he gets up and leaves. It's like very exciting.
That's
So
art.
yeah, right. One guy did a really good one though. He it's like he drops his rubber ball and he's like chasing it throughout the city. But you
Oh,
know,
I've seen stuff like that.
yeah. But I was lazy and like I want to make a joke. I want to be funny. This is so hard.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whatever. He tries to do something and he fails. Let's move on. But we had to film it on 16 millimeter, so I was really scared of running out of film and also having to pay for it to be developed. But what's been a movie that you've seen recently that you really liked?
Movie I've seen recently. You know, I was back to the action movies. I've really been wanting to see the new John Wick because recently I rewatched the older ones.
I've only
Have
seen the
you ever
first
seen
one.
those?
I've only seen the first one recently, actually.
Oh well, you've seen them all. I mean, they're both. I mean, they're all amazing, but
Yeah, I
it's
bet.
just like the same premise. Like with a lot of those types of movies, like Rocky and just all those other types. They're just like, oh my god, this absolute legend is trying to retire, but like this one threat, it just appears out of
Right.
nowhere, and now he's got to go back into full action to stop it.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess.
Do you think movies that might do the same kind of premise, do you ever get bored of that, or does it kind of depend on the quality and the uniqueness of that movie?
Oh well, of course, yeah. It depends on. I mean, it could be either, because if it is, literally the same thing over again, I'm kind of just like, oh, all right. But I mean, with some of them though, it's a visual thing too. So it's not even that they did really much different with the story or whatever. It's just, and this one, he's like smashing his car into everything, and then in this one, he's like doing a bunch of karate moves and everything like that. Even though
Right.
same things being accomplished,
Uh huh.
it was just kind of done a different way that just looked cool and
Yeah,
it's enjoyable to watch.
because
Because I'm the same way as you were. Not every movie has to have some like original, in-depth story. I mean, I love that and appreciate it, but
sure.
at the same time, it's kind of just like if I'm sitting there, I got some time to pass and got nothing else to do, and I want to watch a movie. I want something like visually appealing,
Sure.
you know, and something that just like interests me. Maybe not something I need to get really deep into. So I think those kind of movies hold an important spot
Yeah,
just as well,
yeah.
you know.
For every the artist, you need, a Transformers and everything in between.
Right.
Yeah, I just thought about this though. As a breakoff point, I just realized though, like, John Wick and Logan share some similarities, but they're handled very, very differently. And I think that's partly because of the genres that they take. Logan's a bit more of a western with some action, and then I would say that John Wick's like a full blown action movie, but they do have
Right.
the similar premises. I think that's a big thing for movies now because I feel like there is a bit of a seen that, like been there, done that sort of thing. So
Right.
I think that's a challenge for any filmmakers, where how you can put a unique stamp on it.
Right.
And I think for some comedies, especially lately, there just hasn't been that. Did you ever see that movie, The House, with Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler?
No, I haven't.
That's a movie where it's not bad, where it's they start illegal casino basically in their house to um, send their daughter to college because the mayor or whoever, who's played by Nick Kroll, like took that money that was supposed to go to her and like built a pool or whatever. Like, I forget exactly. But you think like, oh, that's a great cast. Like, that should be really funny. And it does have some funny moments, but it just sort of is a comedy movie where it's them and you know. So I feel like that's a movie that sort of lacked any big um, identity of its own.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, there's yeah, a lot of comedies kind of do that where it's like they just kind of slap together a random premise, and then it's just kind of like they have one type of joke. I mean, it's different jokes, but it's like one type for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like, oh, we want to just be like really loud in this movie or whatever, and so that's what's gonna get people to laugh.
We'll get the
Or it's like
fat
we're
loud
gonna make
one.
masculine men do feminine or like kiddish kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that's gonna be like the shtick through the whole movie.
Yeah.
One movie that I thought had overall like it did have some kind of generic comedy in it, but it was for the most part pretty unique and like a really cool concept and really funny. Was Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates?
Okay. I haven't seen that yet.
Oh my god, that's a great movie. It's Aubrey Plaza and Adam, what's his name
Oh,
from Workaholics?
yeah, Adam Devine.
Adam Devine, and then it's got Anna Kendrick,
Mm-hmm.
and
Z-
yeah, but
Zac
it's
Efron's in it,
Zac
right?
Efron. But
Yeah.
it's no, that movie is really hilarious. It's basically about how they mess up every sort of family event because they find some girl
Mm-hmm.
that's at the party, and then they make an ass out of themselves trying to impress them, and
Oh,
they end
okay.
up blowing shit up and all this other stuff.
That
And
sounds
so
like
they
a.
have to go find dates for the wedding, and they put out this Craigslist ad. It goes viral, and then they end up on the news.
Oh, okay.
And then the Aubrey Plaza and Anna Kendrick see it, try to scam them into being their dates to get the free trip because it's Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, just crazy stuff happens.
Yeah. That kind of sounds like
Really
a.
funny movie.
It sounds like that sounds like a modern Wedding Crashers, a little bit.
Kinda, yeah,
With like,
almost.
it's like that premise, but put with a modern, younger kind of thing. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it was actually like one that stuck out to me as far as comedies go, because a lot of them that I see, especially with like the former SNL casts that make them and everything these days, they're kind of like they're funny and everything like that, but it's not something I could have not gone without seeing,
Right.
and everything like that.
There's something to be said about the SNL ex stars or current stars where I think that new Ghostbusters movie suffered from it a lot, where it was like, all right, we have all these funny people, let's just have them improvise like hours of footage and we'll just throw it in there. But there's movies like Judd Apatow, I would say, where yeah, they have a joke like that famous when they're playing Mortal Kombat and 40-Year-Old Virgin, where it's like, you know why you're gay, and they go back and forth. But
Yeah.
there's jokes like that, but there are definitely jokes that are a bit more character based, or it can show you a little bit more about that person's character, and it's not
Mhm.
just I'm gonna say this funny thing, or especially
Right.
humor and improv that will help keep the scene going, and it doesn't totally put it at a halt for these people to be funny. I think is the way to go.
Yeah.
Where it needs to keep things going, it needs to not just be funny for the sake of funny, unless that's the whole thing. And there's times for that too, but
Right. I get what you're saying though. I mean, it's kind of like how in the Marvel movies they'll like make potentially insane like scenes and everything like that, and then
mm-hmm.
it's just kind of like, oh yeah, but we want to add something funny, real funny here to catch them off guard.
Those
Then it
totally
ends up kind of
derail.
crapping on the scene.
Yeah, that totally derails the scene. I remember in Endgame, which was okay for the most part in terms of the forced humor. Um, there's a part where Rocket Raccoon directed at Captain Marvel because she has short hair now. He goes, "Why don't you just go and get another haircut? Why don't you?" or whatever. And it's like, what the fuck was
Yeah,
that? Like, what was that?
right. It's just kind of like, oh well, we gotta add a stupid joke in here.
Yeah.
You know what movie completely sucked for me that was actually really disappointing because it looked like it could have been really funny was that one with Will Ferrell, the Sherlock and Holmes.
Oh, you saw that?
Sherlock Holmes one. Yeah, did you not?
No, I kind of wanted to. Then all the reviews said it was really, really bad.
I'd give
And
it a watch. I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
okay.
I went to the movies in South Bay. I ended up going for free because my friend paid for my ticket unexpectedly, which was nice of her.
Oh, word.
But no, it was just kind of like we we just silently walk out of the theater. We're just kind of like that was absolutely awful. I was just like, it was to the point where we just kind of stopped watching mid movie because we were just kind of like making our own jokes about it and everything like that. But yeah, it was terrible. I mean, it was so political.
Yeah.
Just everything had to like he had one of the he was trying to find his hat. You know how he has like the double visor hat.
Yeah.
So the whole like beginning of the movie, he's just like trying on different hats and like trying to find the perfect hat. And one of them is like make England great again or whatever. And everyone's like, no, not that one. And then yeah, that was supposed to be like ha ha ha.
Yeah. The last movie.
The guys swarm the area and it's all the girl characters in it come up and they're like we're Americans, we have guns, and then they just like pull out guns and start shooting at them, and I'm just like,
I don't know if Sherlock Holmes is really the route to go if you're trying to make a bunch of contemporary political humor, but who knows? Um, the last movie I saw that was like that for me was Popstar.
I didn't watch that one.
I walked out of it because the only purpose of the jokes was to set up a cameo. So I walked out of it saying this is garbage.
Yeah,
And
and
as
it
a
really sucked too because Will Ferrell and what's his name that was with him.
yeah, John C. Reilly.
That's it. Yeah, they're some of my favorite actors. I mean, Talladega Nights is a classic.
Yeah.
Watch that. I'd watch that right now if someone pulled that up. You know.
So speaking of Talladega Nights as a movie that you could watch at any point, do you have a favorite movie?
I don't, man. You know, it's hard for me to pick because it'll be something just whatever I'm in the mood for, just because I like that wide range of genres and everything like that. If I'm not really feeling like it's kind of hard to catch me at a time where I'm not feeling like watching a funny movie.
Yeah.
But there's some where I'm just kind of like, I want to see some shit get fucked up and like everything like that. So I want to watch one of those kinds of movies,
Yeah.
something like that. I guess. And plus, the movies are all such different kinds of humor. It's
Mhm.
not easy for me to compare like, oh, this is funnier than the other one. It's just kind of like, oh, this is the stupid kind of funny, like Wet Hot, of course.
Yeah.
That of that type of humor. That's probably my favorite movie.
Mhm.
But it's like, they're more like witty humor kind of things that I like, or you know, just all the different types of humor. There's a couple movies I can think of.
Yeah. I think I'm the same way where I don't really have a favorite necessarily. Um but for a long time I said that Ferris Bueller was my favorite movie just cuz any day of the week, any mood I'm in, I can watch it and still enjoy it. So
Yeah,
and there are a few like that. But I guess I would still say that might be my favorite just for that kind of criteria where it's a solid story and good cast and good acting and it's just a really enjoyable movie.
that movie is rare for me because it's one of the ones, probably one of the most hyped up movies ever, as far because it's a classic. It's
Mm-hmm.
uber popular.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it. Everyone can reference it for the past, since it came out. And so for that kind of thing, for a lot of movies like that, it'll be something I could probably still enjoy, but I wouldn't be like, I'd almost be like annoyed at hearing about it after a while. Whereas this one, it really doesn't annoy me.
Yeah.
It's just, it's still a great movie. I'm the same way with that. I could watch that movie any day. Yeah, you know what else is a movie with that kind of humor is Spies Like Us. I think it's called, with Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, I think I told you about it once. I believe it was on HBO. So, but you could probably look it up somewhere. It's pretty popular. But yeah, it's basically about how like there's this one guy. Chevy Chase plays a character that works at the Pentagon, and so does Dan Aykroyd. But they both work at the Pentagon. Dan Aykroyd's like a supercomputer genius, and he can read Russian and all this other stuff like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
helpful to them because it's Cold War times. And then Chevy Chase is this guy that kind of got in on the tails of his family members that were all pretty high up in there,
Mm-hmm.
and they're both taking tests to be spies, and they kind of set them in for the suicide mission because they
Oh,
have
okay.
like a pair of real spies to actually go complete the mission,
Right.
and then they send them two out saying like it's their mission,
Mm-hmm.
but they really just want them to get caught and killed to distract the enemy.
Gotcha.
And but just the whole thing is just overly ridiculous and stupid. Like they're framing a surgeon and he has to try to perform surgery. And he's just like he's like, aren't you gonna get the scalpel or whatever? And he's just like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Why, yes, of course.
It's like, yeah, do you want to do it then? He's like, no, no, no. He's like, exactly. I'm the surgeon here.
Is it like that humor where it's like, I know, I was just making sure you knew.
Yeah,
Okay, that's funny. That sounds pretty good.
yeah, oh yeah. It's oh, it's bad. I mean, just some of the stuff they say is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I bet.
And it's got a twist ending too, which is funny. But
Oh boy.
yeah, kind of sausage party esque twist ending. But
Interesting.
yeah, it's definitely worth a watch, man. I'd
Huh.
look it up.
I will. On that note, do you have any other maybe recommendations.
Oh, that's a good one. Recommendations. Have you ever seen movie 43?
Yeah,
Okay, never mind then.
that movie's something else.
Dude, I just watched it again recently, and it still just shocks me.
Wow.
It's just kind of like, I want to give you a hickey on your vagina. You already have, Neil. You already have.
I remember
But
seeing that on Netflix when it was relatively newish, but they took it
me
off
too.
and they brought it back. Maybe I will rewatch that.
Recently.
Uh,
Yeah, they brought it back recently.
yeah,
Man, not off the top of my head. I should have thought beforehand probably.
yeah. You know,
I've
maybe
watched many movies lately.
yeah. I haven't really either. I saw this movie on Hulu called Addicted to Fresno with um I always mess up her name, but she plays Nikki in Orange is the New Black,
Oh,
and
okay.
Judy Greer, right? It's Judy Greer is her name.
What's she in?
She's been in a bunch of stuff. She voiced she voices someone in Archer. She always changes her name. She's like the crazy receptionist.
Oh,
It's
okay.
been a little while since I've seen that
It
show. I'm
is like
forgetting.
Greer, yep.
Yeah, they play sisters who live in Fresno, and Judy Greer plays a sex addict who like just gets out of rehab and is working. It's like the first day or so. It's like the first day where she works as a maid in a hotel or a motel with her sister Nikki from
Yeah.
Orange Is New Black, and uh, it's pretty funny. Aubrey Plaza is also in it as like a Krav Maga instructor or something like that.
What?
Yeah, but they accidentally kill someone in the motel, uh, and it's basically them trying to cover it up. They go to like a dog funeral place, and they're like, "Hey, can you get rid of this dog body?" And they're like, "Okay, sure, let's just measure it." And they're like, "No, that's okay." They find out that it's a real body. Fred Armiston plays the I don't know what you'd call it, not the mortician, but the owner of this dog cream funeral place. Um,
Crematorium.
yeah, I guess so. And then he ends up blackmailing them. So then part of the movie is them trying to get the money. They go to a softball tournament, uh, like award thing that's being hosted at their motel, and they sell them all dildos to try to get money because they steal dildos from a sex shop. It's really really funny. So I would check that out.
The first time I've seen Fred Armisen in something, because I never watched SNL
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger, really. I mean, maybe I did and just didn't know that it was SNL, because I think my mom watched it. But I remember that it was this one movie, and I forget what it's called, and I forget what the rest of it is about right now. But I just was really freaked out by him because it was him on. He was just a stranger on a train that like didn't speak English, and they keep going through tunnels,
Uh-huh.
and every time he'd come out closer and closer to the main character, and with less and less clothes on.
He's a kind of a creepy looking guy in some regards.
He
So
is.
that sounds really funny. Oh man, I wish
Yeah,
you knew
I
what
was
that
I
was.
was gonna see if you knew what I was talking about.
I
Maybe you had
don't.
seen it too.
No, I wish. I
I'm
want
sure
to.
that's an easy Google though.
Yeah.
I'll have to find that. And so, what do you think we should talk about next week?
Dude, man, sky's the limit, man. You know what, guys? Here's a future episode. I want to talk about Citizen Kane and how maybe it isn't quite the greatest movie ever made because how can nobody have topped it since that movie coming out? So I don't want to talk about that.
All right.
And I'm not hating the movie either. That is a movie that's good and stuff. But when people
Yeah.
are still like, no, it's the greatest movie, it's like, but how? That was my initial thought, where it's like, but there's been so many movies since.
I'd love to do as an episode, one where we go through some Ashton Kutcher movies,
Okay.
some good ones and some bad ones. So
That
we
sounds
could
good.
see, we could really pick apart, like, where he was actually doing pretty well
Mm-hmm.
and where he tried to be over the top and, like, why we think that.
That sounds good, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, that sounds good. So guys, again, this is our first episode, so leave us some comments, give us a like, share with your friends and stuff. We want to hear back from you guys, see what maybe you'd want to see. And yeah, we'll take suggestions and that kind of stuff if you have any.
Yeah, definitely suggest movies. Always down to find something new.
Oh yeah,
Um, always hard when you're looking for something to watch and have no idea. So,
I'm always hard looking for movies, man. I get excited.
me too.
Awesome. And that's why we're doing a show together, guys. Flick fans. Don't forget it.
I like
So.
that.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching.
Thank you guys.
See you guys next. See you guys next time.